Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be doing a Enscape visualization using the LiveSync Enscape plugin inside of Revit. And I'll be using this Revit resort model that I actually did in my college as an example of how you can use Enscape easily and very effectively without making a model too heavy to actually be able to process afterwards. And it's a useful tip that I found after working endlessly on this Revit model and using Enscape to render it. And in just one day, I was able to get some very clean visualizations that I can also show you later. So let's begin. Now, as you can see, this is a resort type of getaway model that I modeled in Revit, and I've already started my live sync in Enscape. First, I can show you that you can see the Enscape tab inside of Revit here, and it shows pause live updates because I've already started the Enscape Live Sync. So when I switch my tabs, I can see that the Revit model has come to Enscape. Now you can see how clean the geometry looks inside of Enscape. Actually, all the trees that are added here have only been added on Revit. One good thing about Enscape was it actually uh, modified these trees according to the texture packs inside of Revit only. So I didn't need to make any modifications, and they look very realistic in my opinion. And you can also download many assets from Revit, and I think Enscape works quite well inside of Revit. So, and you don't need to have a very detailed model. As you can see, this is all just maybe at the best LOD 300, and there are some issues as well in the model that I am not showing in the visualizations because, like, I know you guys can mess up a little. Like, I've also messed this up. I have not fixed this on the ground, and I have not provided proper landscaping on the bottom side of this building, and many more things that I have missed. But if in terms of visualizations, you only need to grab scenes. The first thing you can do is go to the view management, and you have a lot of views that are already on the Revit, come from Revit to Enscape, but you can also create some. Yeah, so I've just opened this view that I made on Enscape, and you can see that I've actually done nothing much but just added some assets and focused on the materials. So how you can do that is first you can add the assets from the asset library in Enscape. So I can just open this asset library, and then I'll wait for it to load. And now I have a lot of assets that I can maybe categorize in terms of animals, maybe some furniture that I want. Let's search some furniture. And let's say that I want to add a furniture like a chair. I can just click, and I think I can just place it right here. Then using this tool, I can select it and rotate it accordingly. Push it back a little. And until you apply, this is going to look like a low texture furniture, but when I press apply changes, it is going to put that armchair as it looks in the preview. Let's see how it looks. I know an armchair doesn't make sense here, but I'm just trying to tell you how to actually put the furniture here. So this is how it looks, and I think it looks pretty good. The furniture, the assets in the Enscape environment are actually really nice. So I've done the same things here. I've actually just added these food items, I've added these people, I've just adjusted the weather, and I can just show these things in the scene as well. So I'll go to view management again, and then I'll just press the scene that I created. I'll wait for it to load. Okay. So now that I have a scene, how do you actually create one? I will just show you that let's say that I want to create a scene here, and I want that the sun actually feels I think I want the sun to shine rays from here and brighter environment than this. It looks too foggy. So first I'll just set my camera right here, and then I'll press create view. Then I can adjust this lighting of the sun according to the view that I want. So I can maybe have a view like this. Can maybe adjust the angle of the sun so half of it is half of it is dark and half of it is light, and I'll want to focus the sun rays a little more if I can. Let's see. I'll for right now I'll just save this position. I'll just name this view as a test view one. And I'll create. Now that I have created the view, and I think I can find it. Yeah, here it is. So I can edit this view and I can adjust the properties of the weather, adjust the properties of the material, and many more things that are tangible and intangible within the view. So what does that mean? Okay, I'll just wait for it to load a little. Yeah. So the first thing I can do is I can some changes in the visual settings. So as you can see, the view has a mode that I can apply. Well, mostly if you want a realistic view, you would put it at none, but you can also have it as a white. That is actually going to be a clay render that you can create from white. You can also have say outlines, which will show it more like a sketchy feel, you know. Now you can see the view has changed a lot, but I don't think the white lines would outline looks that good. Polystyrol. So if you were to use this output, let's wait for it to load a little. It is going to be similar to the white one, but it's actually makes it like it has a way of how the sunlight is affecting the whole geometry as you can see here, the sunlight scatters through thin geometry, so it's more realistic at the best, I guess. And if you were to choose the light view, you can also see how the lux values are in the view, the red, the green, all you can see it from the meter right above here. And I think it's pretty useful if you want to do some light studies. There's also a sketch mode. Sketch mode is also based on outlines that you can have. You can have some jitters. Jitters are maybe the lines that are constantly adding shadings, extended lines, so you can maybe add a little sketchy feel to it. Also change it to pen from pencil and colored pencil. Colored pencil actually looks pretty good, and I think it provides a good theme to it. Transparent glass. If you have a glass inside that render view, you can maybe check this option to see if it looks better in that. But like you can see, I have this tabletop glass. If I were to say transparent, and I can see that it's actually transparent in the view. Hatch shadows, I think hatch shadows look good. And this is a good view as well. And watercolor is also very clean, simple, and gives a good feel. You can try all of these, but I think none looks the best in my opinion in terms of realism. And you can also have a rendering quality adjustment here, but it doesn't matter. It is only for for you to view it. Like if I were to turn it to ultra, it's gonna take a while to adjust. But at ultra, it just slows my PC down. It may look a bit better, but when I'm doing a screenshot of this render, it won't have that much of an effect. So I'll just tone it to high. Now, I think that is all about the basic settings. Oh, yeah, you can also have a type of the view that you want. You can adjust the projection, maybe from perspective to 2 point, maybe from 2 point to orthographic. I don't think orthographic is a good option here, and I just lost my view. And if you ever just lose your view, I'll just choose don't save. You can have the test view one that I can click it again, and I can just go back to that view. Yeah, so I'm back at the view now. Now, how do you make sure that the view looks as realistic as possible? I think the most major factor are the materials that could play in this, that could play a big role in this. So let's say that I have this view. How would I adjust the materials that I've put on Revit? Right. Let's say I'm on 3D view. Let's say that I have this view on me. So I can, first I'll just, like, I just ungroup this model right now. It's gonna lag a bit. So what you can do, like I have this roof material, I can edit it and I can just edit the structure, and I have this material that I have added. I got this material from the Enscape material library right here. So you can open that and you can search maybe a different type of wood. Let's say that I want this type. So I'll just select it and I'll import. Once imported, I just need to make sure I remember this name. I can close it now. And then I can go back to this edit structure. I can change this material to the shingle 05 wood. I'll just search shingle 05 wood. This is the material that we looked at. I'll just press OK. OK. And then I can get a different material. Let's let it wait. Let's wait for it to load. Yeah. So now when I go back, I can see that the material has changed. And there are many things that you can edit, many ways you can adjust these materials. One is to you can just go from Revit and Enscape material editor to select that material. That's a shingle 05 wood. And you can have maybe let's remove the roughness map and make it a little less rough so it shines a little. Maybe that would be a good impact. Well, I know that wood doesn't shine like that, but you can have a good terms of material rating. You can have all that options right here. You can also fade the image texture a little so you can get a little light texture of that. Also, you can adjust the height map. So height map is basically how the wood texture feels in a 3D view. Now, typically do not actually like also in the texture map. If you want it to be realistic, you don't actually mess with these settings a lot. What you can do is just hope that the lighting in the Enscape render makes it more realism. But that is all about how you can adjust the materials inside of Revit Enscape. And you can also see that the basic wall that I have here is, as I can see in the structure, it's also a material from Enscape, and this is also a material from Enscape only. And I can show you in Enscape. This is the wavy plastering texture that I put on the wall, and this is the brick wall. That is how it looks. And all the textures are at the right scale, so you don't need to adjust them. But if you were to adjust the scale, you would have to do it while going to the Enscape, like going to Revit, and from this material, you can adjust the image scale. I think you can do it in the Enscape material editor as well. Like you can just, yeah, you can adjust the texture width and height from here. So it would be a different scale that you want. Maybe you are doing something different. I don't know. But it usually works if you leave it at default. So now that I have changed the materials, I have set the scene and I can just go back to scene and I can adjust the lighting. What is left? Well, I have also used the asset library as well. Well, the walkthrough is left, but I think I should leave it for the end. And let's play around a little with the lighting. Maybe that could be a good lesson because lighting is a very important factor in this. So I'll just go to a previous render that I had, this one, and let's try to take the render out this time. Let's try to export it. Yeah. So if I were to just do a screenshot right here, look now how easy it is to actually export the render. I'll just uh, I'll just create a new folder. Yeah, test. I'll just put the render here. This is my test one. I've just exported that. After this loading bar fills, you can go to that folder. Let me see, Enscape. test, test one. Now this is how the render looks like. Now if I were to adjust some things, like I would probably add more realistic things in it. Let's have a let's have a depth of field here. Now, depth of field is basically a type of a blurriness that you have when you are focusing on one aspect of the render, and the other aspect is actually in the background. It's more blurred out, and it could look very interesting when you are actually playing around with it. So, as you can see, I am adding the blurriness over here right now. I can make my focus front from this woman's face, I guess. I can have the blurriness in the background. And I think it's a little too much, so I'll just adjust it here. Now you can see the image actually looks more realistic. The background is a little blurred. Now, what you can also do is you can adjust the output, how the image actually comes out. Right now, I have done it at full HD. You can also do it in Ultra HD with more resolution. It would add more resolution to the image. And the file format, I've just generated in JPG. I'll just do it this one as a PNG. And automatic naming, I don't think I need that. I can just adjust the folder that this image will be saved at. I think I can, what was the name of it? Enscape test. Yeah, I'll just select this folder. Compression quality, you can keep it lossless, but it's for the video settings actually, so it doesn't matter. Now, if I were to go to the sky, let's see. You can have a like I would suggest you guys to play around with these settings a lot, but the best way to actually make a scene is to from that scene see how the changes on these bars affect the actual scene. So if I were to have less clouds, I would have more light, and now I feel that the light is a center focus of this render, so it looks good. Now if I could, like, I won't be able to see much clouds here, so I don't think the rest of the things that matter. But these are basically the variety of the clouds that are coming out, the amount of varieties of these clouds. These are basically those options. And you can also have a different type of a background, but the background is not visible in the view. I can just show it in a different view. Now, atmosphere. In the fog section, you can add a little intensity of fog, how much you actually want it in your render, and the more you add, the more you can see the rays of light are coming more diffracted. Like if I were to just lessen it, that diffraction is a little gone, you know. Now, the height and the intensity is basically how much the fog is going to be visible. If you had more height, it will, like I can see that it's more clear, this line that I can see here. But if I were to add the intensity, the fog just quickly develops here. And sorry, the height. Now, if I were to adjust the intensity, the fog goes stronger and stronger, and eventually it feels like the background has completely been fogged out. And this could also be a good type of visualization. It's a matter of trial and error actually. Even I don't know if the fog would look good right here or right here, but I think the intensity should be a little less. Let's not keep it that much, you know. So illumination, I think maybe it affects the scene in the brightness, but it doesn't matter much because the trees are blocking the sun. And these are all brightness, illumination. These are all interior and exterior illuminations, and you can increase and decrease them to see how good it looks like. If I were to decrease the shadow sharpness, I can see that the shadow forms uh, how do I say? It's less contrasting. But if I were to increase the sharpness, it's more contrasting. As you can see, that it's not happening as naturally as it should. So I should keep it as it was, and I think the atmosphere settings are good as it is. Now I can go to the image, and maybe you can adjust the contrast. Maybe the highlights should be a little high, maybe the shadow should be a little less, and you can have a little brighter render. Maybe the saturation could be adjusted to create a more beautiful, more colorful, more liveliness of this render. Maybe the color temperature could be adjusted. You have so many options. motion blur is an effect. I think it's mostly for the things that are moving, so it doesn't matter. Lens flare is a thing that basically adjusts the amount of shininess, amount the rays that you get from the direct visual of the sun in your visualization. So if I were to increase this, I can get the sun as bright as I want. If I were to decrease it, I can get just a little bright. Bloom is also a effect of like adjusts the it adjusts the bouncing lights, I think. So as you can see, the whole effect of the light is very bright right now. I just don't like it that much, so I'll just decrease it. Vignette is a type of a camera site type setting that if I were to increase it, you can see the shadows are forming in the visual, like a bit of a visual lens type image is forming. So I don't think Vignette is that good as well. Chromatic aberration is also as the light and the color plays around. I think it doesn't do that much in this render. As I can see, it doesn't change that much, so it doesn't matter if I do anything with it. And now that I've played around with the visual settings, I can have some things that could help with the output. So let's say that I have a safe frame. A safe frame is basically telling me how much the render is going to be, like how the render is going to look like when it gets exported. So these black bars are not going to be coming out, only the visible picture inside is going to be. And I think the 2 point perspective looks better in this opinion. And I think that's it. Now I can just have a screenshot of this. I can write it as a test 2. Let's see how the exported image looks. So I've been waiting for like 5-10 minutes actually. So the reason it's taking so long, and now it's done. The reason it was taking so long because I have set the output as Ultra HD, and getting a resolution of this takes a little while. So I think Full HD should do your job. So you don't need to go over it. And let's see how the difference is. Now this was a test 1. This is test 2. You can see how this blur adds a more realistic feel to it. The sunlight, the shininess of the wood actually makes the whole scene look way different than before. And you can see that it's not a lot of work that you need to do. You don't need to have too much detailing, and you don't need to do too much, how do I say, too much work in this. Once you have modeled it in Revit, you can have take one day out and get all these renders that you want. Maybe I have this dining area and I have actually had a scene set up right here. Let me just find that scene. Yeah, so you can see, right, I've just had this view like this, and if I were to change the, let's say, no, not this. If I were to change the time, so you can actually change the time by holding shift and right click of your mouse button. If I were to change the time to maybe say the night render, and then if I were to click the fine dining and skip render again, it would take me back to what it actually was at the time that I created this view. That is how good the view management is in Enscape. As you can see, the view time is actually been adjusted already. So all these assets, all these views that you can create from Enscape are pretty simple. So by doing all that, I could get some very great views. One is this that I already did show you. One is a camping view coming, like you can see the light is coming from here. It's a very good sunset view. A fine dining view, I like this one. I have some variations of it. The test one, maybe adjusting the reflectiveness, adjusting the lighting a little. And this is a view that I had on the housings that I've put near the lake. Same view, but on the night, a raft view. This was a very great view. I think the lighting coming from those angles felt very nice. And this was the whole actual site view that you can. I did a watercolor theme for it, so it looks very clean and it looks very understandable. This is the realistic version, and I felt the watercolor one was better because it had no shadows and the it does have shadows, but it does not have that dark, deep of shadows. And I can see the path actually coming from here, going from here, maybe going from here, and I can see the workflow, how all the things are coming along. This view is also very great. You can also add these animals to have a good visual. This was a good swimming pool view, and I think these are the views that I get from my project. And let me know if you guys want a more detailed video of this. Maybe if you want a detailed video of how I actually modeled this in Revit, because it was a very painful method, but I learned a lot while modeling this resort on Revit. I learned a lot about the site, landscaping, about massing, how to create water, how to create assets, how you can actually create these houses uh, independently and then place them on the site perfectly, how you can manage the trees, how you can manage the flow, all the views, how you can get many great sheets made along in Revit. Like I can show you, this was a sheet that I made only on Revit, then I printed it out and presented it to my jury. So I know this Enscape video was a little longer than I anticipated, but even then I didn't would not say I went into that much detail. And if you guys felt that I missed some things that I could have talked about, please let me know. I can create a part 2 of this video and I can focus on those aspects. So just comment them down below. I can reply to them and I'll make sure to get a video out as soon as possible. So you can create some cool little views like this, having a view where the roof is actually detached from, so you can see how the model actually looks like, the entrance view, maybe the deck view. So these are very simple things that I can show you guys how to do, and just let me know. Okay, so I'll be seeing you guys later. Thank you.